Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we break down the different compositional mechanics that are working underneath an image. So let's get started. So today we are looking at this scene from Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So what are the different elements that grab our initial attention? So the first one would be this lady standing over here. And what are the mechanisms that make this person stand out the most? So the first one would be the immediate contrast between the lady and the background, her being the brightest in this image, excluding the different lights that are present, and the tonal contrast between the background and her, because if you can see that she's wearing clothes that are a bit cooler in tone in comparison to the warm ceiling that is behind her. And again, the brightness of the lights that is directly falling onto her from the top right. So that makes her the most dominant character. And also, her standing and the rest of the elements that are placed lower in this image makes her the most dominant from the mechanism of scale. The next would be the lights that are present over here. And again, over here, it is predominantly the contrast mechanism that is working for this particular element. That being said, that is the second element. And the third one would be the soldiers being showcased using a hat that has a very distinct shape to it. So that creates another layer of differentiation. So there are, in general, three major elements that when we break down this image. So first would be the lady, the second would be the lights, the third would be the soldiers. Now, talking about the different elements that control path. The first dominant element that controls our eye movement would be the lights, because they form repetition and also leading lines that pull the attention of the viewer into the image. The secondary leading line element would be the battens in the ceiling that helps the eye move into the frame itself, whereas for a lateral movement across the horizontal axis, it would be the soldiers that are present over here that make the eye move from left to right. The next mechanism would be the overall illusion of depth. Let's first try to isolate the different elements into three categories. So the first one would be the foreground, middle ground, and background. So the foreground elements would be the soldiers themselves because they are closest to the picture plane in this image. And if you notice, the overall focal plane of the soldiers and also the lady, all of the elements predominantly lie on the same plane. So even her, being the central character of this image, would be classified again as a foreground element. And as the image itself is low angle image, we can see that there are not many mid-ground elements, whereas like, due to the fact that most of the remaining elements merge in the background. So if you can see the cartons towards the right seem to blend into the surroundings of the ceilings located in the background. So the midground element in this image would be quite weak, and it does consist of only the foreground and the background elements. The next thing would be that of balance. When we are talking about balance, we tend to generally assign visual weight to all the elements that are present in an image in an individual manner, and then we look at the image on a whole and gauge if the image is balanced or not. So in this case, the main subject tends to have the most weight, and she, being the dominant figure over here, has the most visual weight. And if you look at the placement of her, she's placed to a tad bit towards the right side. For the current time being, the image is leaning towards the right a bit. And the next read would be again the placement of these bulbs. If you look and assign individual weight to all these fragmented bulbs across the frame, they do tend to have individual weight, but as they are distributed across the frame in a systematic manner, they tend to distribute the weight across the frame and hence make the overall image balanced. One another factor is that all of these lights that are placed in a single axis tend to behave as a single unit in which the other remaining bulbs tend to cancel out this weight towards the left. The next figures, which which have weight would be the soldiers towards the front. And as they are distributed across the bottom of the frame, they tend to stabilize the frame even further. And also, if you look at the corners and the edges, add visual weight to both the corners of the image, hence canceling out each other. So predominantly the image is balanced, whereas if we were to be as specific, because balance lies on a spectrum altogether, I would say the image is leaning slightly towards the right. So those were a few mechanisms that were working in this frame. So hope you like this video, and I do such breakdowns regularly. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing. So catch you again next time.